Hello, everyone, and welcome back to season four of the Spimo Council podcast. My name is Jackson Prelli. I'm one of your co-hosts for this season, as well as the podcast producer. Joining me on the hosting side today, we have Madeline Grossi, who is our podcast administrator and co-host as well as Ethan Crystal. And now I'll throw over to Maddie to introduce our guest for the podcast today.
Awesome. Thanks, Jackson. So I'm super excited to introduce Ethan Crystal. We're so excited to have you back. He's a former sport management graduate and former president of SPIMA Council. Upon graduation at Brock, Ethan has pursued a Master's of Science in Sport Management at Louisiana State University. While he was still at Brock, he completed his internship at LSU as an event and game management intern before now being a graduate assistant in the athletics department. We're so happy to welcome Ethan back to the SPIMA Council podcast as the 10th guest of this season. Welcome,
Well,
Ethan.
it's a pleasure to be back. Thank y'all so much. I mean, just seeing you guys kind of grow from when I was there and y'all were both first year reps. This is awesome. We kind of talked offline about the progression of the podcast and something that's near and dear to my heart with my contribution towards council. So I'm glad y'all are keeping this going, and I'm glad y'all have found a different angle for this year, and you're getting some awesome content out there. So it's happy to be back. Appreciate y'all reaching out. When I got that message, Madeline, I was like, yes, they remembered me. Great to hear. So thank y'all for having me on here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's just jump right into it. So, what has been the biggest difference that you've seen between the sports industry in Canada and the sports industry in the States?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is it's big. I'll say football is religion here. I think, if you know college football, you kind of know that Louisiana State University is as big as they get when it comes to football. I'm currently sitting in an office in Tiger Stadium. That's actually where our offices are. So I walk into Tiger Stadium every day. Stadium that sits 102,321 people. It's kind of just, where I work. It's huge. I mean, I'll give, a quick, I guess, comparison. And, I used to attend Brock basketball games a lot. And they were, I think it was $5 for student, free for students. And you had the women's game first and the men's game first. And, the men's game would fill up the gym, and the gym would probably be 1,000, 1,500 seats. Our, and women's basketball is one of my sports, so I'll talk about it later. Our, smallest women's basketball game this year has been 2,700. So imagine 2,700 people trying to fit into, Bob Davis, Ian Bettis, I think it's Ian
Bob
Bettis.
Davis.
Bob
Yeah.
Davis. I'm imagine trying to fit 2,700 into Bob Davis. It's, it's packed to the brim and people may not get in. Whereas here, that's an empty PMAC. I mean, we fit 13,000 people in our basketball, volleyball, gymnastics arena. So just everything is done to a bigger scale here. They really, really, really love their sports here, especially their football. Football game days start at 6 a.m. Parking lots open at 7 a.m. and you have people tailgating at 7 a.m. And I'm out there driving around on game day. So I see the people setting up their tents at 7 a.m. and already cooking breakfast on the barbecue. And then you come back 2 hours later and they got lunch on the smoker, and then they got the TV going and the beer's flowing. And so I think just the biggest difference I've seen is that it really is a religion here. And that's not really something I saw with U Sports, especially at the college level. But they really and truly love their Tigers. And I've traveled to other places too. I've been to Texas A&M, and I'd say they don't do it as much there as they do here, but they do tailgate, and they do love their fighting Aggies over there. So it's religion here, and that's what I'll say.
No, I mean that makes perfect sense. Like I even had the opportunity to go to the Penn State Whiteout game this year, and
There
that
you go.
I even saw I was like, yeah, this is way bigger than I expected I've ever seen. Like it is a religion down in the States for football. I was talking to people, they drove 5 hours. It's like, okay, you really do.
People will do that every weekend. People will bring their RVs on Tuesday,
Yep.
park it outside one of the RV lots that opens on Thursday, and they'll leave their RVs there for a couple of days. They'll do whatever they got to do, come back on Thursday, bring it in, and start tailgating. It's
Just insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we were just wondering, so could you tell us about some of your roles and responsibilities at LSU, both when you were an intern for event and game management as well as a graduate student?
Yeah, I mean, kind of what's been homered in to us in the sports industry is you have to be flexible no matter what, right? You have to be adaptable, and you have to realize that, like, one day your job may change, and that word "other duties as assigned" is very often utilized in your job. I started here, like you said, as an intern in 2019 when I came on exchange. And then there was an opportunity to come back when I wanted to continue my studies to go to grad school. So I joined on as an intern, a graduate assistant, last fall, last August, whatever it was. Went through a year with game and event management, and we actually merged departments with our facilities department, and now became operations. So my roles and responsibilities actually changed since I've been here, and I've only been here, I guess full time per se for a year and a half at this point. Some of our roles and responsibilities, just in general, I mean, for football, I am very much involved on the parking aspect of it. So we are here, before the parking lot's open, we're making sure they're all staffed, we're making sure all of our signage gets out, we're making sure all of our flags get out. And then throughout the day, you're troubleshooting issues as they arise, because with 100,000 people coming to the stadium and another 10,000 to 50,000 staying outside, there's bound to be some issues that arise. So we're troubleshooting issues all throughout the day. We are helping with the operations in terms of creating pedestrian zones and just helping with traffic flow and everything. And then we flip to, breaking everything down. The second kickoff starts, I'm out there breaking down everything that we have spent 3-4 days to put up, and I break it down within an hour. So that really validates the work there when you put 3 days in and then you break it down within an hour. And then we get set up for post game, and that's what kind of my football game day looks like in, I guess, a microcosm. But otherwise, we are still event and facility managers for our sports. So myself, I'm on a team with 2 other graduate assistants and 4 interns, so we're about 7 student workers, and we help all of the full-time staff with sports. We all get our own sport assignments. Last year, I was women's basketball and baseball were my 2 sports. This year, I added soccer to that, so we did soccer, women's basketball, and baseball. Soccer, we were very fortunate enough to host the first round of the NCAA tournament. That was awesome experience. Had about 1,200 people here, which is pretty good for a soccer game. And we won. It was, it's always better when you win. Some of that stuff is really just, you're dealing with staffing. You're dealing with the visiting team and the officials and making sure everything's okay with them. And you're putting up concession lines, and you're putting together the gates, and you're getting scanners out. And that's just a lot of the smaller sports stuff that we'll do. Women's basketball and baseball really all the same thing. Baseball, we have a little added, I guess I'll say, responsibility. We take care of the back row program, which is a group of girls who love baseball and collectively want to be a part of the team, and they help collect the foul balls, they'll collect the bats, they'll help hydrate the umps. It's kind of like, ever see those videos of like the dog running out to get the bat? We have that, but with students who are really big LSU fans. So that's another group that we'll oversee. But it's a lot of that. It's putting together the whole event and then dealing with issues as they arise. So that's where the facilities and operations side comes in. Is I've had to learn how to drive a forklift for when we got to do stuff, and I'm now forklift certified, which I never thought I would be. And unfortunately, if there's a pipe burst in the concession stand upstairs, you got to go check it out, and you got to get your feet wet, and you got to figure out what's wrong with it. So a lot of roles and responsibilities have shifted, but I mean, I've kind of just the whole time I've tried to be like, all right, what do we need to do next? What do I got to learn? Like, just try to adapt.
Yeah, it's funny that how you started off when you said that little phrase, other duties as assigned, because Jackson and I were in the same class this semester, and we were like, it's the internship like preparation class, and Dr. Narain's our professor, and we had like a full 30-minute conversation about that one day, and he said like, you need to realize that can mean anything when you're an intern.
Tell Dr. Narain I got stories. Tell him I could tell him about other duties as assigned. If he wants to hear other duties as assigned, we've had to do a lot of other duties as assigned. And it's, during the moment, sometimes they may not be the best. But at the end of the day, you're looking at your coworker and you're laughing about it. You're like, this is our life. Like, this is what we're doing. And we know why we're doing this. And it's fun. Other duties as assigned, comparatively to, days where it may suck. I guess very quick. Other duties as assigned, when we replaced our men's basketball staff, other duties as assigned, I was asked to help move one of them out. move one of the coaches out. And it's kind of weird. You're there and the coach is unfortunately let go just because of a change. And being asked to kind of help them pack up their office is not really something fun per se.
Yeah.
But it's you got to do the job. So
Yeah, I know. Well, Jackson and I will start to learn that soon within the next few years. But for
oh,
now,
for
we
sure.
just get to hear all the stories. And then next we have do you have any recommendations for students who are looking to build a career out of event management, or maybe something you'd recommend while they're still here at Brock or right when you graduate?
Yeah, for sure. If you want to build a career in event management, get yourself organized. um,
Hmm.
I I will be very honest. Getting into 2019 when I got the job here, I didn't necessarily know what event management was per se, nor was I an organized person whatsoever. And I have had to learn to get organized. I
Hmm.
use my calendar more than I ever have, which is why when you ask me, I said, "Hey, send me a calendar invite because I know I'll forget."
Yeah.
I have had to use reminders, that little like Siri thing on your phone where you're like, "Hey Siri, remind me," blah blah blah. I've used. Oh, my Siri just went off there. I have used that so often. I will literally stop someone in the track and be like, before I forget, I need to do this.
Hmm.
Stay organized. There are a bunch of apps and stuff that you can do to like prioritize, what you need to be done. I use my notes app so much, and I'll literally every week I'll write to do, what days today? To do 12/5/22, and I will put a list of what needs to be done and I will check it off as I do it. And after this, I have like 4 things I got to do before lunch. So, but it's just about staying organized, and that's really what event management is. You have to have that organization really down pat, and I'm working on it. I still am, and I know I'm not the best, but that's what experience is for, right? If you're looking at event management, you need to develop that keen eye. Is really like you need to be able to be there in an event and spot something that really goes wrong before it goes wrong, to
Hmm.
be able to address it before it gets too bad. You need to really be on top of it with staffing. That's a big part of event management, is getting all the staff together. And you're dealing with, for LSU game days, you're dealing with upwards of 600 total staff spread out across the whole campus. And you have to find a way to make sure that everyone's happy, and you have to find a make sure that everyone's doing their job. And if they're not doing their job, you also have to find a way to, not yell at them. You have to make sure that they do their job, and you have to talk to them, and everyone reacts differently to different sorts of conversations and intonations and whatnot. So I, all that to say, if you're looking to build a career in event management, get yourself experience is definitely the best. I'm fortunate enough to have been able to volunteer with Brock Women's Hockey for, I think I did it for 2 semesters, kind of learning their game day operations. And I did different steps along the way. But then Erica, who was in charge at the time, I don't know if Erica's
Yeah.
still doing the game day ops there.
Yeah,
She
she
is.
is.
So, Erica did a great job at really like explaining to you like what you got to do, why it's important. If you have any questions, come to me. And then now that I'm in my position, I'm seeing her in a different light, being the event manager compared to like what I am right now. So like,
Hmm.
I'll honestly try and emulate with our student staff. I'll go to them and be like, all right, y'all are doing parking today for women's basketball. You have to do this, 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 and that at these times. This is why it's important. Let me know if you have any questions. And we trust them to, go on and do the thing. And yeah, there was a long-winded answer for get yourself some experience and learn how to be organized.
I think that's a good point there. You just said why it's important, because a lot of people value knowing why they're doing something rather than just go do this for me.
For sure. And they'll understand better. If I say, hey, Jackson, can you go put this parking flag up for me in this lot? He'll say, okay. And if he does it wrong, like I'll get mad. I'll be like, hey, you didn't do this right. I won't get mad, but I'll be like, hey, you didn't do this right. This is how we do it. But if I say, Jackson, I need you to put these parking flags up, they're very important to help our drivers understand where the entrance to the lot is. So place yourself in a car basically and look at it and say like, all right, this is probably the best spot or the easiest spot for me to see that flag for me to enter the parking lot from.
No,
It's a little difference. It takes 15 seconds extra, and it makes a world of difference.
no, for sure. Because I even volunteered, I was interning for a baseball team this past summer and doing game day operations there, and it was just like, oh, you didn't do this like thing like properly, like at the end of the season, we saw how it went wrong. So then like you just learn like, oh, you have to do everything, like it's
Yeah.
all about detail. It's all
Yeah,
about
if I can add to my answer from before, detail oriented would be something as well that I would add to that answer. If I can like go back and just add to that answer real quick.
I'll see how good my editing skills are.
Perfect, thank you.
So then, like we talked about off camera, we've kind of progressed the podcast into kind of like a real life sports talk as well. So we're going to progress into that now. So we are just wondering, what is your most memorable memory at LSU so far? Whether it's like anything that has happened there.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of have like three that kind of pop into my head. Number one, when I was here in 2019, obviously winning the national championship was a pretty good memory. Being able to be there with everyone who I worked with and witness that, that was something. Even if I had not come back to LSU to say I was there for one semester, fall of 2019, it's the semester they won the national championship and I worked there, was pretty awesome. And then being able to come back, I've made many memories. Been able to do some really, really, really cool and awesome stuff here, as well as gain some invaluable experience that I'm going to use for the rest of my life. I will say, when we beat Alabama this year and the students rushed the field, I was not in the stadium for the final play. Part of my duties help with post-game shuttles, which have to be set up obviously prior to the end of the game. So I had to be outside, making sure the buses were running all right. So I was not in the stadium for the end of the game, but it was my dad, my sister, and her boyfriend came to visit me, and so having family here for them to be able to experience was awesome for me. I asked my dad if he rushed the field. He said no. I said, why not? But just being able to actually give them that experience was incredible, and a smile didn't leave his face all weekend. And my sister doesn't know a lot about football, but she was cheering her ass off, and she loved it. So that was awesome. I'll say a second memorable experience, and it's more of a moment more than anything. We had the opportunity to host the first and second round of the women's March Madness tournament last April, end of March, beginning April almost. And that was awesome. It was a long week, a lot of work, late nights, a lot of stress, but all of that culminating in, after the final game, myself and actually people who came to volunteer from Canada. I don't know if y'all remember Suze, but Suze came along with my buddies Nick and Kevin. They came to help out volunteering for the week because we needed help. Like, we just needed bodies there and people who were competent and able to do stuff. So they came to help for the weekend, and watching them after our second game, just like pick up a basketball and play a little pickup game with the rest of our staff that was there. And just me, like, I had a little introspective moment of just like watching them and just being like this was it. Like, we finished, like, how it's fun. Like, we got through everything, and it was an awesome experience. Those were three memorable experiences I've been a part of, and I'm looking forward to a final semester of hopefully more memorable experiences.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'd say like this summer I worked at Tennis Canada, like leading up to the National Bank Open in August, and I think like the most amount of fun you have is like after the match happens or like after the game's over, and you can all just like look at each other and like, wow, that was pretty cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. The second the final whistle goes and you're finally done and you're able to like that is a great feeling.
Yeah. Well, following those like memories and moments that you've had, is there like a famous athlete or like kind of like a fangirl moment that you've had?
Yeah, I'm thinking about famous athletes. I mean, quick side story. I actually in 2019, Nick Reed and Kevin Dorn, they were here with me, and they, big LSU guys. Kevin's at Alabama right now. I had them help one day for a football setup, and this is 2019, just because I needed the help, and they needed a volunteer hours for one of their courses, and we're in the office, and two of the other interns are like, "Oh, we just drove Shaq to or from football ops. We just drove him back here. We're going to give him a tour." And Nick and Kevin look at me and like, "Oh, we want to meet Shaq." And I was like, "All right, let's finish what we do, and then when they come back, we'll meet Shaq because we had stuff to do." So we finished what we did. It was about maybe 15 minutes, and then we got back and like, "All right, let's go give Shaq a tour." And the two interns like, "Oh, Shaq's gone." So they'll never forgive me, but I was the reason they did not meet Shaq. terms of famous athletes I've met at LSU, I do have a moment. I think that I keep myself pretty professional with the job, and I think you actually have to be pretty professional with the job.
Yeah.
You will meet, celebrities left, right, center sometimes, and you really do it's not a time for fangirl. That's not your role. You're not your responsibility. I had to give a golf cart shot on the Alabama game to Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and we were meeting Mark Ingram, who was on a different golf cart. And I mean, there's no time to be like, "Hey, I love you guys. Like, can I have a picture?" Blah blah blah. You're really you're in uniform. You're working. There's no time to fangirl, unfortunately. So I mean, I've got to meet pretty I guess famous or popular athletes and whatnot. Now, I do have my moment, and I planned this because when I knew this individual was coming, I went to like 4 people and I said, "Is this okay if I fanboy?" And I literally I've been professional this whole time. This is one person. And it was Sam Burns. I am a big golf fan. Sam Burns, obviously former LSU Tiger, was recognized at our Tennessee game, I believe it was. And when I found that out, I went to 3 or 4 people and I was like, "Hey, I've kept it professional this whole time. I want to meet Sam." I fanboyed. I 1,000,000% fanboyed. I got my picture. I posted on Instagram and everything. I got my picture. And I think I apologized to 3 people after. I was like, "I'm never gonna do that again. I'm sorry, but I'm so happy." So that was probably the most famous athlete I've met, and the most time, or the only time really, I've ever fanboyed.
No, for sure. I mean, I don't know if I was in your friend's shoes, I don't know if ever be able to forgive you for not meeting Shaq. I mean, Shaq's one of those individuals. You're like, if you get to meet him,
Yeah. So I mean, I have met Shaq in the end. I have, but obviously I took the opportunity from them, and I don't think they'll ever forgive me. But
and then just our last little one here. College football. You talked how it's a religion. As all the championships were this past week, unfortunately, LSU couldn't pull it out against Georgia, but Georgia does look very
30 points against the number one defense in the country. Going to our backup quarterback at halftime, obviously, because Jane Daniels was injured. I think there was a lot of good from that game. A couple of mental errors, but I think there's a lot of good from that game.
Exactly. I mean, still first year under Brian Kelly, so not really. It's all about foundation. So just wondering, top 4 set. So what are your predictions for the top 4?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think about it, but I kind of just blurted it out last night to someone, so I guess I'm going with that now. I said Georgia over Michigan by 17. Michigan keeps it close until midway through the third quarter, and then Georgia pulls away. If I had to give more predictions, I guess Michigan will beat TCU by 8 points, and then Georgia will beat Ohio State by a couple touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I mean. I'm a Michigan fan, even though I went to the Penn State whiteout game. Still a Michigan fan, but Georgia does look on a different level, especially after.
Yeah, they don't make mistakes, and that's the biggest thing. They got to probably figure out their defense because they gave up 500 yards to us, 30 points, and we haven't been that prolific of an offense all year. But I really do think that they're built to win again. That D line is something else.
No, I mean. That's what I mean. I just watched this team, and it's like when Michigan's vocal points running the football, and you just have Jalen Carter just kind of sitting there in the middle. It's like running the football might be a little hard, but first,
yeah, I think
TCU. So
I think we abandoned the run game pretty quick in that game. I'm pretty sure we didn't have a lot of rush attempts. So
I mean, it's all about Mr. 5-star himself, JJ McCarthy, making throws, and when you're a 5-star recruit, you should be able to make some throws, so we'll see if he's able to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Ethan, this has been so much fun today. We're so glad that you've come back onto the podcast. So similarly like before, on behalf of Jackson and I, we'd just like to thank you for joining us today and talking to us. But the floor is yours. You get the last word, so anything you want to say or close out with. But thank you for coming back.
Well, thank y'all for having me. I always, obviously being a council alum, I want to see council do its best. And shout out to Neville and the whole gang for having an awesome year so far. Can't wait to see what you guys are doing for the rest of the year next semester. And then, as we go on, I'll always keep Brock in my heart. That is really the turning point for me in terms of, my education, getting into sport and whatnot. didn't really think of any final words, although I kind of figured because this is what we've done in the past. I mean, y'all just keep doing what you're doing. If you kind of always put your best foot forward, and you do the best to represent yourself, that's really something that you can't really go wrong with. So keep doing what you're doing, keep being you, keep being authentic. I guess if there's one thing I'll say is what I've kind of said like every meeting we had that y'all's first year. You always got to play the cards that you're dealt. That's something that I've continued to live by, and it's something that I'll always, always kind of go by. And anyone who listens to this is probably giving me some slack for saying it for the 3 millionth time. But I mean, really and truly, you never know what's going to be presented to you. You never know what challenge is going to lie today. I know I got 4 things to do, and I'm sure a 5th or 6th thing's going to pop up, in the next 20 minutes. I just got an email that I just got an email from the SEC that I'm going to have to read as soon as we get off. You know what I mean? Like something's going to pop up. So you can really only control how you react, your actions. You cannot control anyone else around you. So you really got to play the cards that you're dealt, and you can still win at any hand. So good luck to everybody. I mean, if anyone has any questions about studying in the States or working in the States, feel free to reach out. Y'all can give them my email. That's it. I mean, kudos to y'all again for what you're doing, and I'm happy that the pod is good, still going strong.
Still going strong.
Thanks, Ethan.
Thank
Of
you.
course.